Cowabunga! How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Ultimate Game Room. And this is your host and creator, Jason Dixon, logging on. And there's my sexy Tiffany back there. Hello, baby. Today I'm going to talk about an awesome compilation that came out 3 years ago from Konami. This Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. It features all the games that were from the 8-bit, 16-bit, and portable generation from the 90s. And I had fond memories of playing those on the consoles. And it also features the 2 arcade games as well, too. The 1989 arcade game and the Turtles in Time arcade game, as well as the console ports of the games on here. This compilation is awesome. It features 13 games on here. The 2 arcade games that I mentioned, 4 NES games, 3 Game Boy games, 2 Super Nintendo games, and 2 Sega Genesis games. The majority of these games are definitely side-scroller beat-em-ups. There's also the Tournament Fighters in this collection, which was on the NES, Super NES, and Genesis. And they're all pretty good too, even though they're different than the other, but each have their own ups and downs. However, I prefer the side-scrollers the most. This collection has been out for 3 years, and it's available on all digital platforms and physical media for the asking price of $40. And with 13 memorable gems from 1989 to the early 90s, it's well worth it, and still well worth it to this day. I have the physical copy on the Nintendo Switch, and that's the version I've been playing. The Ninja Turtles series is one series that I grew up all around the pop culture, watching the cartoon and watching the live action movies, which they made 3 of them, and playing with the toys or action figures, and mainly my favorite, of course, are the video games. Konami has been pulling off wonderful compilations, bringing back all the classics and putting them in one collection for a certain type of series. Castlevania, Contra, Metal Gear, and lately, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. The Cowabunga Collection was developed by Digital Eclipse, same developers behind a lot of classics and other compilations, as well as the Atari 50th Anniversary Collection and the upcoming Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Now, this episode will not be a full-blown review of each game on compilation. I'm mainly going to explain about my memories with each game on this collection. However, there's not much to say for a review on the compilation itself. In fact, the compilation has everything from the realms of Ninja Turtles gaming that I remember growing up with. Well, I might have missed out on some of the games since I couldn't look in all directions, or practically got tired of the series at the time. But nowadays, at least, I got a better chance, because this compilation has the whole library of Ninja Turtles games from the NES, Super NES, Game Boy, Genesis, and arcade. And not one game is missing. From platformers to beat-em-ups to tournament fighting, all I can say about this Cowabunga Collection, it is all turtle power at its finest. Or should I say, pizza power to the core. Of course, the power source for Ninja Turtles is pizza. Of course, fighting games were getting popular during the 16-bit era, so Konami decided to do a Ninja Turtles tournament fighting games for both 16-bit consoles and the NES. And each one of them are different, and they're all good in their own right, but probably the Super Nintendo version's the best out of all from the looks of it, even though I didn't put enough effort back into those ones back in the day, but I'm still glad to have them on the collection just to give another chance. Yes, when I When I refer to portable, I do mean the Game Boy. That's the only portable that they had the Ninja Turtles games on. They didn't have any for Game Gear. What's cool about the Game Boy versions on this collection is that you can change filters, like monochrome or black and white, or have a Game Boy Color option too. So that's pretty cool. Fortunately, the Ninja Turtles games on the Game Boy were all one player, so I mean, they're not even Game Boy to Game Boy multiplayer. Damn, this is groovy. Let's dance, baby. Pizza time. Babe time. Dance time. Yeah, I can remember this pause screen and pause menu when I had it back from Sewers on the Game Boy back in '92. And when it comes to the Game Boy trilogy of Ninja Turtles, I remember the first two really well. Borrowed the first one, which was Fall the Foot Clan, from my friend, and got the second one back from Sewers for my birthday. Of course, the most memorable moment was that pause music you were just listening to a few minutes ago. However, the third game, Radical Rescue, I left out on because I was kind of losing interest in the series at the time. In some ways, I wish I didn't leave out on it, but then again, the game's part of a collection, so it definitely will give another chance here and there, though. The Cowabunga Collection also has enhancements for each game, plus a save and a load state, a rewind feature, and the collection has a turtle lair, where they have archives of box arts, instruction manuals, advertisements, strategy guides, plus a jukebox where you can rock out or jam to any of the tune from each game. Let me tell you, the music in all games are freaking awesome. And it's really awesome they had a jukebox here so inside the room where you can jam to any music you want.
Pizza power!
So the Cowabunga Collection is indeed worth $40 on any platform, digitally or physically. Or if you can find it on sale, it's definitely recommended. But I don't regret paying $40 for a physical copy. Now when it comes to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I wasn't always a diehard fan of them, or the series in general. In fact, I started losing interest in them during the 16-bit era around 1994. Popularity for the series was declining, but popularity for the series built back up years later. But I don't care about any of the new stuff after the early 90s. That includes video games from 2000s to present. What I'm trying to say is, don't expect me to do any video or blog or any project involving Ninja Turtles that is not from the 80s or the 90s. With the exception of Shredder's Revenge. Yes, that game was released about 5 years ago, and they released a complete edition of it. And that game was a love letter to the 1987 cartoon and the beat-em-up games from the 1990s. And Shredder's Revenge is the only Ninja Turtles game I would totally recommend outside any Ninja Turtles games that's available on this Cowabunga Collection. The Cowabunga Collection has 13 games altogether, and the two biggest gems out of all are the arcade games. The 1989 arcade game and the 1991 arcade follow-up, Turtles in Time. Both arcade games can be up to 1 to 4 players, and on the arcade machine, each turtle has their own built-in control panel. So to select your favorite turtle, you have to choose the correct panel for that turtle. Unless that panel is occupied already, then you'll have to choose a different turtle or panel. The emulation of both arcade games has been ported on the collection excellently. And if you're going to do a playthrough, solo or with your friends, locally or online, you have to select a turtle wisely, because you can't change your turtle after you lose all your lives and decide to continue. Which, all 4 turtles have their own unique style, so I couldn't complain about that, definitely. In fact, there's nothing to complain about the arcade games at all. Now, the arcade games are the best out of the collection, and I had fond memories playing them back in the arcade when I had a chance. But not as much memories I had when comparing the arcade games to console games and portable games. I think it's best that I should do a separate video for each one. I think it's best that I should do a separate video for each game individually, because it would take forever to explain it all.
My nose. Pizza time.
That's pretty much all I gotta say about the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection. However, I do like to talk about each one of these games individually and do a little bit of stories on what my memories are with them. Most of the memories of these games I was playing most of the time was on the NES and on the Game Boy. I did play them on the 16-bit consoles, but at the same time during that time I was losing interest in the series. And I did play arcade ports when I was at the arcades time to time too. Yeah, the beat 'em up games are so fun. Just like Streets of Rage, or Final Fight, or Double Dragon, etc. As well as the Battletoads arcade game. It kind of reminds me of Turtles in Time in a way too. Except that one may be a little bit more extreme, but... And so far, and by far, there's no game missing on this compilation, or no game left out. The Cowabunga Collection is highly recommended for fans of the Ninja Turtles from the 90s. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching and listening. This is Dixon of the Ultimate Gamer. I'm logging off. There's Tiffany back there. Saying, have a good one.